So then, without further ado, I'm going to introduce the president of the Massachusetts Liberty Preservation Association. Laura, will you please come up here? Ms. Laura Jackson.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone. On behalf of the Massachusetts Liberty Preservation Association, I'd like to thank Senator Bob Hevlin, who signed off on the use of this hall today and helped to make this happen, Suzette Waters and Tammy Krause from the Director of State House Operations, who will be delivering our flag later. We had a flag flown over in front of the Capitol building today that MassLPA will be receiving along with a certificate on this most auspicious of occasions. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to everyone who traveled here today. Coming from Western Massachusetts, I know, and I've heard stories of it coming from Eastern Massachusetts as well. It's a pleasure to have all of you here. You're truly patriots. Today's ceremony is to celebrate our Constitution. And I'll begin by saying that we, the people, are taking our places, standing firmly under the banner that is ours, the Constitution. We are holding fast to the promise of a republic, and our intent is clear: to protect ourselves, the Constitution, and our state from the two villains that are apathy and greed. And we are not alone. There are hundreds of thousands of people who want to regain a strict rule of law, a law of, by, and for the people. A clear message of liberty is being spoken and heard in this country. I hear it every day in emails that flood my inbox. I hear it from others who are tracking, posting, and fighting against constitutional violations in their states. I am reminded as hour after hour, hundreds of people pass by our protest rallies, our events, with their hands out to receive our information. Our rallies, our events, which address the dangers to our constitutional republic and empower ordinary folks to add their voices to ours. Every day, I talk to young people who are especially interested in a message of limited government and personal responsibility. Some of them are taking it a step further by running for office. Others are actively supporting candidates here and in other states. Candidates who are voicing their own belief in government restraint. Isn't it true that the best societies are societies that are based on some type of formal agreement between the people and the government? Our constitutional agreement restrains the government, not the people. But because it's being ignored, it's up to us to protect this agreement by being proactive. MassLPA exists to track and to act upon legislation that voids this agreement. In 1 year, we have created a statewide organization that allows us to maintain constant vigilance at all times. That we believe has an impact right here in the Commonwealth. MassLPA is nonpartisan, so that in a society where the high point of most political debates is to divide along party lines, we won't allow it. debate, not a recital of the dogma of party loyalty. Our members have traveled across the country and all over New England, uniting the patriots they've met along the way who are demanding a free market, sound money, and limited government. They keep us updated with posts about unconstitutional legislation in their states, with suggestions of how we can help one another. They're also spreading the word when there are viable candidates running for office who need our support. Can you imagine that anyone in today's political climate might do as our ancestors did? To commit their life and treasure for liberty and freedom? I can name a few who would not, but I know many, many more who already are, myself included. There will not be silence nor peace from MassLPA until we have educated all of our legislators about the importance of individual and state sovereignty, free speech, and restricted government right here in Massachusetts. We intend to publicly hold our representatives' feet to the fire when they refuse to uphold their oath of office. More importantly, we intend to publicly praise those who do. Our founding fathers brought the sovereignty of God to their thoughts before they put pen to paper. And his name appears throughout our founding documents. This Nurses' Hall, with its paintings and sculpture, represents the bandaging and healing of our wounded soldiers and patriots, so that they could be reinstated to their fight for freedom. On the whole of it, by adding our presence here today, this hall represents the renewal of a revolution that needs replenishing now. That anyone who died fighting for liberty on the greenest grass of the state died in vain. The people depicted in these paintings and sculpture are just like us. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things, empowered by a belief that what they did then and what we are doing today is indeed God's work. God's work. The Bible tells you so. The old wars of Abraham against the robber kings, of Joshua against the Canaanites, of David against the Philistines, of Hezekiah against the Assyrians, all tell us the same brave news, that our soldiers are doing God's work, and that God's blessing is on us when we fight in a just cause. We are fighting for freedom and law. If to you God gives the noble work of fighting for liberty in America, God will reward you according to the work that you do. You will be fighting in that everlasting war which is in heaven, in God's everlasting war against all injustice and wrong. The captain and leader whereof is the Lord Jesus Christ himself. May God bless us.